Raygun is coming to Madison. Raygun is a Midwest-based unionized design and print shop with retail locations in cities across our region, and now Madison. They're opening on State Street this September at the former Paul's Bookstore location. Raygun is proud to support public media, public schools, public lands, and public restrooms. Shop and sign up for their newsletter at raygunsite.com and follow at Raygun Shirts everywhere for new product releases, plus grand opening information for their new location at 670 State Street in Madison. The Wondrous Water Lantern Festival is coming to Madison September 6th at Willow Island. If you're looking for a peaceful, uplifting evening, this will be an unforgettable night of community, hope, and thousands of lanterns lighting up the water. Gates open at 4:30 p.m., lantern launch starts at 7 p.m., and the festival will run until 8:30. Tickets are available now at waterlanternfestival.com, and don't wait because this event often sells out. Get your tickets, which include a lantern design kit, today at waterlanternfestival.com. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, what is the mindset of an athletic champion? The renowned IRONMAN Wisconsin Triathlon is this weekend, the official race kicking off this Sunday, September 7th. IRONMAN is a yearly epic competition that shuts down a number of streets downtown and around the city, so it's hard to miss, even for the many uninitiated. But it's split between swimming in Lake Winona, biking across Dane County, and running around Madison. The full race is 140.7 miles, so who on earth can actually do this epic athletic feat? I wanted to ask someone who knows firsthand. My guest today is Lawrence Shapiro, recently retired longtime UW-Madison philosophy professor and bona fide Ironman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Bianca. I'm not sure that the label champion fits me well. I didn't win the Ironman. I didn't come close to winning the Ironman, but I did do it, and I did it in 2006.
I think completing it is a champion move. So I appreciate your clarification. But Professor, have I earned the honor to call you Larry?
Oh, please do. When I was a professor, I didn't really care what people called me. It always felt funny to be called professor, so I actually preferred people using my first name.
This is all coming back to me. I do feel like I probably called you Larry back when, but I do have a lot of respect for you. So I just wanted to make sure in terms of how I was saying your name. Why do I have a lot of respect for you? Well, 15 years ago, you were my Philosophy 101 professor at UW, my first semester of college. So you made quite the impression. In addition to blowing my mind about the big questions around what it means to be human, you also wore the band The Cure t-shirts.
Okay.
And at some point, quietly and humbly mentioned, yeah, I completed an Ironman competition. And after all of these years, you're still the only person I know who's completed it. So do you feel different? Do you walk around the world with a sense of honor, I'm quietly, I'm an Ironman?
I think I might have once upon a time when it was sort of fresher in my mind that I had done this, and I could remember more clearly all the effort that went into doing it and all the hard work and sacrifices. I was quicker to think of myself as an Ironman than I do now. Now it seems like a more distant memory.
Well, once an Ironman, always an Ironman, in my opinion. I have to ask on behalf of us normies who look in and admire and awe, and also how does someone do that? Is someone who enters as an Ironman in their right mind?
Well, I didn't start from scratch. So my approach to the race might be different from someone who wasn't an endurance athlete in any event. I started with a number of marathons under my belt and some amount of biking. For me, the real challenge was swimming. I've never been a strong swimmer. I don't enjoy swimming, especially. So as I approached the event, I thought, well, I know how to do a marathon. I'm comfortable doing marathons. Biking is something that I've done some amount of, and I can imagine building up my biking strength. It was really the swimming that had me nervous.
So what made you go from, hey, I can maybe do this, to I'm in?
I had some friends that I would run marathons with and train with, and some of them did the Ironman, and I was at the finish line, and I thought, wow, that is awesome. Imagine being able to do that. I wish I could do that. And my friend said, well, you could do that, but you have to decide right now. And so I felt a lot of pressure. I had to make a decision sort of on the spot. Do I want to do this or not? And I thought, well, I'll make the opportunity for myself. I'll sign up for it. And then once that happened, I'm the kind of person where once I commit to something, it's very hard for me not to follow through. I feel very guilty about leaving loose ends like that.
I know I said, somebody that goes into doing the Ironman, are they in their right mind? In all seriousness, like, I invited you on for a dual purpose. Not only did you do the Ironman, but you're an expert in cognitive and biological philosophy, okay? So much of your life's work literally centers around the mind-body connection. The questions around the two and how they communicate with each other or how they don't. So it's like you're a deep thinker and you did this. So this is really exciting for me. How much of completing an Ironman is a mental game?
It's very much a mental game. I think that if you look at the kind of people who run marathons and the people who compete in Ironman events, you see all kinds of bodies. You see bodies that you think, there's no way in the world that that body should be able to run 26 miles or bike 112 miles. The people could be small, they could be big, they could be elderly, and yet they're all able to do it. Most bodies with adequate training can cross that finish line. So it's a mental challenge more than it is a physical challenge. I'm convinced. You find the pace that works for you and you can complete the race. So it's a mental event. I thought it was definitely a test of my tenacity, my discipline. The way I approached it was I'm going to try different mental strategies to get me through this. And I did employ different mental strategies in different parts of the event.
For example?
One thing I did was I would listen to podcasts about topics that made me angry, because I find that when I'm angry, I just want to start moving and vent my frustrations. So there are a couple of podcasts the podcasters would talk about politics. And this was back in 2006, which seems like paradise compared to what we have going on today. But there's still plenty to be angry about. And so I could channel my anger into athletic endurance.
Well, that's good. Rage listening.
Rage listening. There were different kinds of music suiting my different kinds of moods. Some music I would listen to. I like rock. I like indie. But some music I find intriguing because the lyrics. So bands like the Silver Jews or Pavement or Wilco, I'll listen. And these singers are storytellers. And it's definitely distracting to listen to their music, try to figure out what it is that's inspiring them, what they're talking about. And then some music has just got a really good beat, like LCD Sound System, and I can put that on and, I can listen to the same album over and over again, and it'll just keep me moving. On the one hand, you're trying to prevent yourself from feeling the pains that inevitably you suffer as you're pushing your body to its limits. But on the other hand, another strategy I would sometimes employ was to actually focus on what my body was feeling. And this is a kind of meditative practice where you're mindful of the different creaks and groans that your body is experiencing as you're running up a hill or as you're trying not to swallow the water that you accidentally ingested while you're going up for a breath. So if you keep focused on what your body is speaking to you, you lose track of the kind of pains that you might be experiencing. It's an odd thing, but when you focus on the blister on your foot, or you focus on your knees that are starting to ache, and you can sort of abstract yourself away from those particular feelings, and they don't bother you as much.
I think that is one of the big questions people have about the race, or at least me thinking, like, how is it on the body? Like, how grueling is it? Or do you get into the zone and it's all happy chemicals? Obviously not that, because you just said, like, you're feeling the aches and pains. Like, how would you describe the experience of doing an Ironman?
It's funny. Some days everything could be clicking, and usually training as you're getting closer to the race, maybe a month or two out, you're combining two events in a day rather than all three events. So you might decide this is a day where I swim and bike, or I bike and run, or I swim and run. And there are days where everything seems to click and you get out of the water, you're feeling good, and the bike goes great. But then there are days where every mile, starting with the first mile, you're thinking to yourself, why is this so hard today? You have to be kind of forgiving of yourself and just realize that not every day you're going to be performing at your peak. There are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days, but the more you work, the more frequent the good days are. And ideally, you remain injury-free up until the weeks before the event when you start tapering.
Man, does that not just resonate for all of life, though? It's just like
Yeah.
today is just kicking butt, like we're grooving, everything's clicking, everything's moving well. And then you have the days like, why? Why is everything in my way? Or just dealing with that is such a part of succeeding in life.
Yeah, I did days before the race have a serious shoulder issue that was preventing me from swinging my arm the way I need to in order to swim. And so I was able to see a sports doc who injected some steroids into the bursa in my shoulder, which definitely eased the agony that I was experiencing. And so I was ready to go on race day.
Okay. Did you have any experience of your body feeling like it was breaking down when you're in the race, or that you wanted to stop? And how did you push through, if you remember?
Yeah, so it was a particularly miserable day, that 2006 race. It was raining, it was cold, there were waves in Lake Monona, and the swimming event, as I mentioned, was my weakest event, my dreaded event. And it was the worst conditions, far worse than any conditions under which I trained, because when you're training, if it's raining and windy, you think, well, I'm not going to swim today, but I didn't have a choice.
Did you feel like you were given something down from the Greek gods, or just like being smited?
Well, I felt like Job or something like that. Yeah, what did I do wrong? On the other hand, I knew that once I got out of the water, I'd be comfortable, because even though biking in the rain isn't a lot of fun, it's better than biking in extreme heat. And so I thought, if I can just get out of this water, and I think I was like one of the last people out. It took me almost 2 hours to do that. It was terrible. But I thought, once I get out of the water, I'll be on terra firma and I can just do my thing. And so the biking went fine. And then I was feeling really good after the biking. And I just thought, I just have a marathon to do. I've done these before. And then when you're running a marathon, I like to think, I'm just going to run 10 miles. And if I can run 10 miles and feel okay, then I'm going to run another 10 miles. You sort of break it down into smaller, parcels of running. And you think of a marathon not as one long race, but as a number of shorter races.
Let's just say I'm imagining I want to do the Ironman.
You could do it, Bianca. Sure, you can do it.
But is it like, when you look at the gulf between, where you are today and where you want to be, is that the trick, is like really breaking it down into smaller pieces and being with the discomfort? I guess that you're talking about the meditative component as well.
Well, I mentioned that I saw friends finishing this race and I was just inspired by them. I thought, how good does that feel? It must feel so good to cross that finish line after working so hard. And so I signed up for the race that day or the next, and I started training right away. I knew that swimming was my weak event, so I got in the pool and I started off being able to swim maybe 0.2 of a mile or something like that. Despite the fact that I was in very good condition from all the running I was steadily doing, swimming was a whole other thing. And I thought, wow, how could I be so out of breath? How could I be so exhausted? But you do it 3 times a week and you start feeling more comfortable and you start upping your distance. And I was doing a half mile within a few weeks. So you take it one step at a time, and it's important not to let yourself get discouraged, to focus on the positive improvements rather than on the length of time it might be taking you to see these improvements.
your favorite team needs you to cheer them on at Bark and Wine Tailgate on Saturday, September 27th at Dane County Humane Society. From 3 to 6 p.m., join in the tailgate spirit with delicious food, refreshing drinks, tail-wagging games, a silent auction, and plenty of furry fun for a great cause. Plus, you'll get to meet some amazing animal greeters who will make the day unforgettable. Want more? Grab VIP pregame tickets to enjoy early access and other special perks. Can't wait for the event? The Donate to Vote Showdown is on. Every dollar you donate to cheer for your favorite animal team, cat, dog, wildlife, or critter, counts as one vote to crown this year's champion. Plus, your donation supports animals in our community. Last year, Team Cat clawed their way to the top, but who will win this tailgate rematch? That's up to you. Get your tickets today and start casting your votes now at giveshelter.org/BW. It's really fun for me to have this conversation with you because you're the first person who informed me there's a decent chance that there's no such thing as free will. It's an exciting question. Like, did you choose this or did this life choose you?
Yeah.
But I do want to get a little philosophical here about, the process of it and the idea of the zone. Like, is the zone a thing? And go literally as deep as you want.
Okay. So I think the zone is a thing. I have been in the zone where maybe I'm listening to some music that I love and I'm running through the Arboretum, which is something I've done thousands of times. UW has a great Arboretum here, and the weather might be perfect. I might have just completed writing an article or something, and don't have that anxiety of having to meet a deadline anymore. And you start running, and then the next thing you know, you've run 10K or 12K or something like that, and you don't even remember having done it.
Can't relate. Want to.
Yeah. I do think there are these moments where we sort of forget that we're embodied and we're just traveling effortlessly. It feels great. If you're lucky, you encounter this a few times.
I've certainly felt in the zone in different things, including in exercise. And I also kind of equate it to a meditative space. Even it's like if you're lifting weights, I'm like, this is going fast in a fantastic way. But I do want to ask, like, with the question of free will, if you're going to be an Ironman, that's you already have it inside of you, or anyone could be it, or, can one build up the will to do this? Can one build mental strength to have fortitude and be able to do these endurance sports?
That's a really good question, Bianca. I think building physical stamina is probably easier than building mental stamina. And we know that if we can run a half mile today and do it repeatedly, then we'll be able to run a mile in a couple of weeks, and then 5 miles, and then 10 miles. So we know that our bodies are capable of that. The hard part, and this is why it's hard to keep resolutions too that you make on New Year's Day, the hard part is getting yourself out of bed when it's raining or when you'd rather be having brunch with friends. But I think that you can train yourself mentally as well. You can say something like, I know it's going to be tough to get myself to do it, so why don't I just do it half the times I initially planned, or go not as far as I had hoped to go. And you'll find that if you're willing to push yourself a little bit to do things that you really didn't want to do or weren't excited about doing, then it'll be easier to push yourself even harder in the future.
You're kind of lessening the level of uncertainty. You're getting yourself a little familiar along the way.
Right. You're not forcing yourself to do the hard thing. You're asking yourself to do something not quite as hard. And if you approach it that way, it'll be easier, and you'll find yourself doing the hard thing that you thought you wouldn't be able to do in the first place.
Well, bringing it back to the Ironman for folks listening specifically, because they're really jazzed about that and learning how they might do it. For you personally, was there anything unexpected about that experience?
I have to express my gratitude to my wife and my kids. My kids at the time were about 8 and 10 years old, I think. They're always good kids, but it's hard work being a parent. And my wife was definitely asked to do more that year than she had the previous year because I was spending so much time training. And She never really understood why I wanted to do this thing in the first place. She was worried that I'd end up injuring myself like some people do. So one unexpected thing, I guess, was just seeing what my wife was willing to tolerate and how supportive she could be despite the extra time she needed to spend doing the things that I would have ordinarily done, and supporting me despite thinking what I was doing was insane. So, I mean, I knew this woman very well. We'd been together forever. So it didn't surprise me that she would step up, but it was really meaningful for me to see that she was willing to do this anyway.
That's one of my favorite things about you, Larry. I remember you always spoke about your family so beautifully, and it takes a village, and it also sounds like endurance on behalf of your support system.
Yes. I'm not sure she would be willing to do it again, though.
That's fair enough. When we're thinking about Ironman Wisconsin, it's set in gorgeous Dane County. Can you talk about what the experience was like? Do you see the beautiful paths you're on?
Oh, for sure. So I had the great privilege of being able to train using the course that we'd end up racing on. So I love biking around the driftless regions of Wisconsin. Just the landscape is gorgeous. The people you see on the roads are welcoming. Of course, the running route takes you, at least at the time, through the Arboretum and the Lakeshore Path. These are just beautiful areas with prairies, with pine trees, with water views. I think we must have one of the loveliest courses that there is on which to compete.
That's so good to hear. And it also sounds like Madisonians have a bit of a competitive edge.
Oh, I think we do. I mean, I think maybe with the exception of Boulder, Colorado, we have a huge contingent of fairly serious athletes.
Well, let's say I'm wanting in. 2030 for me.
2030? That's too far away.
Maybe I'll do it sooner. Here's the thing. Actually, the truth of the matter, in part, is the executive producer of the show, Haley, and I are talking about doing the Gilda Run clubs, like 5K, which I've never done a 5K. So I am making steps. So who knows? Once I get started, I might get totally hooked. But before we let you go, Larry, best advice for someone who wants to gear up and try and be an Ironman?
Think about which event you're most likely to enjoy or find easy, and start with that and become proficient. So maybe it's biking. Start increasing your biking distance, 20, 30, 40 miles, something like that. And I think it's good to have an event sort of in your pocket, an event that you're not going to worry about. It's not going to be a big struggle for you. Then start working on the event that you're least going to enjoy, for contrast's sake. And then you'll get to that middle event and it'll seem to you, it's not going to be as bad as the event I least enjoy, and I don't have to worry at all about the event at which I'm most proficient, most capable. And if you approach it that way, you're going to have a better shot at it than if you start with the thing that you least like, because then you'll just feel bad about yourself.
That is excellent, excellent strategy. Mr. Lawrence Shapiro, Professor Larry, all of the names. We know we're catching you. You just retired this year, so after
That's
many
right.
years. And it sounds like you said you have a book coming out, which is really exciting. So if you want to share what the book is, hey, why not?
I'm working on a book. I've had a long career, and I've written a number of books. One book, sort of relevant to our conversation, not an academic book, but a book I wrote in 2008, 2009 called Zen and the Art of Running, in which I explain how you can think about running from a kind of meditative perspective, a Zen Buddhist perspective. But the book on which I'm currently working is about how philosophy contributes to various scientific projects, because there are a lot of scientists who don't take philosophical contributions to the topics on which they're working very seriously. And so what my current book is doing is defending the importance of philosophy within science.
We don't want people out here recklessly doing science with no application and how it's going to impact us humans. Love it.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to look forward to that. Larry, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight on what it means to be an Ironman and how to get there. We're very grateful.
Well, it's been 15 years, Bianca, but you're just as I remembered you.
Oh, I hope that's a good thing. I think
Oh, it's a great
fun.
thing. It's a great thing.
That's Larry Shapiro, recently retired UW-Madison professor of philosophy and the author of many books, including Zen and the Art of Running. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with someone who likes to push their limits? All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.